what is meant by surrendering everything in meditation? Well, in our sitting, where we're allowing experience to simply be as it is, for it to move, shake, wiggle, and dance within us, within the flow, the unstoppable flow. We are already naturally surrendering everything without choice, without control. That is, without implementing a decision to surrender everything. Naturally, our essential condition as this presence of awareness is to allow everything to appear and disappear, to surrender or let go of whatever appears, such that it ultimately disappears. Like every one of these words has arisen and disappeared. We did not need to make an effort, implement a choice to surrender these words into the oblivion of the emptiness of silence. These words, by nature, being temporary, disappear. So these words are like thoughts that appear in our meditative space of awareness, and they naturally disappear. So they are naturally surrendered. Everything that appears disappears. So everything that appears is surrendered. When it's suggested, surrender everything, it's misleading to believe that surrendering everything is a choice that we, either as a separate entity or as reality, would make deliberately. If we believe that we are a separate entity that can surrender everything, we remain as this apparently separate entity who has surrendered everything except for itself. That ego or apparently separate entity will remain as the one that has surrendered everything. But a deeper understanding of our experience reveals that this ego or apparently separate entity is just another thought that is effortlessly surrendered the moment that it disappears. So there is no entity to surrender everything. Such an entity would be a thought that has claimed to have surrendered everything. The only one that is surrendering everything is the only one that is really here, which is reality itself. Reality is the only one that is here, the only one that can surrender, and is naturally the surrendering of everything. Reality witnesses a modulation of its substance, a thought or an emotion or a sensation, as it coalesces and appears And that same reality witnesses the transformation of that phenomena and the disappearance of such. And during that entire appearance, transformation, and disappearance, reality doesn't have this idea of itself as being one who has surrendered everything. The way that reality experiences itself in manifestation is that it appears to be constantly changing. So reality appears constantly changing within itself, yet reality in its essential condition is always the same, unchanging presence. So everything that appears disappears. Everything that comes goes. Everything that appears is surrendered. This idea of surrendering is a pedagogical tool. For instance, Ramana Maharshi was using this term, surrender, as a path to self-realization, as a tool of language that can then be utilized as a means by the mind to contemplate what surrendering everything truly means, truly signifies. And if that ego or apparently separate person, which is a mind-made entity, then thinks about what surrender is, or precipitates a process of surrendering things that come and go by saying, I let go of this, I surrender that. Everything that can be surrendered or let go of can be seen to be let go of, to be surrendered. Everything that comes and goes, comes and goes. And ultimately, what is left is the I that seems to be the one that is doing the surrender. So that process of making a deliberate action to let go of things or surrender things by the mind, by this mind-made entity, leads to the final contemplation of who is the I that is doing the surrendering. That one too is temporary and a mind-made entity, and therefore can be surrendered. And who is it that would surrender that mind-made entity? Who am I? That is the final question. And so the mind asks its source, who am I really? What is my essential nature? And the idea of a surrenderer disappears. For when the mind turns towards its source, the mind dissolves, leaving no concepts behind, and only reality present as this awareness that does not know itself as a surrenderer, as doing any surrendering. It is just reality present, experiencing the unfolding of manifestation, constantly changing. So this is the ultimate understanding of surrender. That process of employing the mind to implement a practice of surrender. leads to the contemplation of who is doing the surrendering. The question again is always, who or what am I fundamentally? And that question itself, if we take that question first, as Ramana Maharshi offered as a contemplation, we are surrendering the essence of that movement of identification with a limited entity. When we ask, who or what am I? We are surrendering the mind. We are letting the mind go and leaving behind the only reality that is present, ourself, this awareness, which is non-conceptual, non-objective. We surrender the question in the face of the answer, which is this presence. This one right here that is aware.